EAGLES, Eagles.
From the deck of the most decorated ship in United States military history, we are on deck of the USS New Jersey, where things are certainly looking better here than they were in South Philadelphia, but we are honored to be honoring our veterans here on the battleship New Jersey, right here in Camden, New Jersey. Now, we have some veterans on board that have been sharing their stories with us throughout that first half and before the game, and unfortunately right now, Eagles fans, it's not sitting pretty when it comes to a 17-10 Eagles deficit, thanks to that last-minute field goal there as time ticked off in that first half. With me here is one of our reporters, of course, Kayla Santiago, joining us, and Bill Colarulo of Legal Hands to the Face podcast. I mean, really a couple of big things going on in that first half. One, you talk about the opportunity to try to take the ball away from the Commanders. The Eagles couldn't do it in the early goings of that first half. They had two opportunities, not one, but two opportunities, Bill, to take that ball away to prevent the second touchdown, which eventually made it a 14-7 deficit. Take us through those plays right there, Bill.
Yeah, two big missed opportunities. We knew this Washington team had a problem protecting the football, and those balls were up for grabs. Terrell Edmonds in the end zone has to come down with that interception. Then you have that fumble, great play, forcing the fumble by Bradbury. Unfortunately, no Eagles players are there. We knew the Commanders are going to turn it over, but the Eagles have to be there to make the plays when they have their chances.
Yeah, that's unfortunately for the offense, it's giveaways. Defensively, you got to be able to take it away from the offense. Now, Kayla, we look at the numbers with Jalen Hurts. We look at 12 for 16, 116 yards. By the numbers, they certainly look okay, but when you watch them with the eye test, looks like this offense is having a little bit of a problem finding the rhythm.
And I feel like that's how it's been all season so far. Early on in this season, it's been all about the numbers for Jalen Hurts, but his productiveness on the field isn't what everybody wants to see, especially for Eagles fans right now. On those runs, on those drives, everything like that, Jalen Hurts just seems to be missing guys. There was a point where he runs the ball, he waits forever. The line is giving him the protection that he needs. He misses open guys like Dallas Goedert and Devontae Smith. That cannot happen, especially in a game like this. You guys talked about it in the pregame show that you can't rest on your laurels coming in against Washington. You still have to play up. We talked about the offense and Jalen Hurts not really getting going the way they want to throughout this week so far. And we're seeing it once again for the Eagles. You need to fix that in the second half for sure.
Absolutely. And to your point, talking about what it looks like for the entire season versus right now, this has pretty much been the way the Eagles have played this entire year. They haven't played their best football. They aren't playing their best football in this game, but yet they're only down a touchdown at halftime. Now let's go to Lincoln Financial Field, talk to our NFL insider, John McMullen, also co-host of Birds 365. John, what are you seeing from the Eagles in that first half, and what would you like to see more or less of them in the second half?
Well, obviously a little bit of sloppy football, number one. I think that's got to be tightened up. You talk about the 6 penalties. The Eagles had some very costly. Very rarely do you see an offside call on an offensive lineman. You saw that on Landon Dickerson. I believe the 5th time over the past 3 years that his call has been made. So that's something that you don't expect to see that cost them a brotherly shove or tush push, whatever you want to call it, potential conversion there. The big James Bradbury pass interference call, just a little bit too much sloppiness as far as the penalties go. And then you sort of can't hang your hat on anything offensively. We talked in the pregame show, Eagles wanted to get this passing game going. Numbers aren't terrible from that standpoint, but certainly not explosive. I don't think Jalen Hurts, you take away that big throw to Devontae Smith at the end, which was just a tremendous catch by Devontae for a 37-yard gain. All of a sudden, it looks a lot worse. There were some plays to be made, I think, left on the field. We continue to say Jalen Hurts has just not been sharp. That continues today. And you haven't had the run game to rely on. DeAndre Swift, 6 carries for 20 yards. Jalen continues to be penned up with 3 carries for 7 yards. So, yeah, disappointing first half. The good news is Eagles are only down 7 after the 3rd consecutive week that Jake Elliott ends the first half with a sort of walk-off kick. So that puts them in a position to be in the football game. And then I heard Bill talking about, potential turnovers. Sam Howell gave you a couple opportunities. He didn't take advantage of it, the fumble in the end zone. caused by James Bradbury, sort of just bad luck there. Terry McLaurin was allowed to jump on it. Defensively, though, the zone coverage has not looked good today. Specifically, Darius Slay tends to lock that up pretty well. He didn't have a good first half. A couple times Terry McLaurin finds the sort of open seam, and Brown gets the 35-yard gain. Logan Thomas for a 27-yarder. Too many explosive plays given up in the passing game. And if you let Sam Howell get comfortable, he's proven he can make those throws.
And, John, I think from our vantage point right now, Jalen Hurts is not getting those reads at the moment. Coming out in the second half, they do start out with the ball. Do you think they try to go a little bit more run game? I know it hasn't been getting going, but you trust on Swift. Do you do that again in the second half? Or what's going on with Jalen Hurts right now, because he's holding on to the ball for just a little bit too long?
Yeah, you're right, Kayla. I think he is not seeing things as clearly maybe as he did last year. We talked a lot about sort of the unscouted looks they were getting the first 3 weeks. They didn't expect that this week. From what I see, Washington is playing their typical type of defense. So it should have more comfortable in the second half. I mean, Devontae's getting open, AJ's getting open. I think you have to lean on those two in the second half, and maybe that big throw to Devontae Smith gives them a little bit of a spark, because I think there's plays to be made. On the other hand, you saw Chase Young get the best of Jordan Mailata defensive front for Washington.
Bill, Bill, I'm going to get to you in 1 second, but when it comes to John, thank you very much, John. Appreciate you joining us there from Lincoln Financial Field. A little bit of a technical issue there, unfortunately, and trying to get the connection. But let's keep going here with Jalen Hurts, especially at the end of that first half. Yeah, it was a great kick there by Jake Elliott to make sure the Eagles at least got 3 points there, but they don't get that without the circus catch made by Devontae Smith. Quiet there in the first half. A lot of the attention has been on A.J. Brown early, really even going back to the game against the Buccaneers. It's amazing what happens when you allegedly don't complain about your targets. You seem to get more targets. It's funny how that happens. But when it comes to Devontae Smith, a huge catch for him right there to make sure the Eagles were getting into that scoring position, Bill.
Yeah, the offense isn't playing horrible. Some penalties here and there, but they're just not getting as many opportunities. They've only been on the field for 12 minutes, 43 seconds. Washington's really controlling the clock. They've had the ball for over 17 minutes in this game. And I'm not sure what Washington is doing differently to stop this run. They were 22nd in the league coming into this game, but the Eagles are only averaging 3.0 yards a carry, which is a team that's been averaging 4.9. They got to get that running game going, and I think it'll also help set up the pass and get the ball downfield to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith in the second half.
Absolutely. And, Kayla, I know you just asked John about it, but let's talk about that a little bit further. When you talk about what this Eagles team has done so well, maybe it is time for them just to go back to that bread and butter again and make sure they can run that football right down the Commanders' throats.
I mean, listen, I know that A.J. Brown was complaining about touches a few weeks ago, but at the end of the day, you have to win football games, and that has been, as you mentioned, the bread and butter for Philadelphia right now. I think they go back to that run game. I think it would be the smartest thing to do. Jalen Hurts has got to hit his reads, though. We've seen multiple times in this first half that A.J. Brown is open, Dallas Goedert is open, and it seems like they're kind of forcing the ball downfield a lot, especially in that second quarter, and I get you want to get the big gain, but also those 5 to 6 yard slant on second down aren't going to hurt you either.
Mm-hmm. All right, now one of the things that John had mentioned there was talking about this Eagles offensive line and that brotherly shove, as it's becoming known now. Interesting thing, Bill, you had a conspiracy theory when it came to this. Is this the way the NFL is officially going to offset this play by calling ticky-tack penalties? Because it looked like both teams were a little too close to the line of scrimmage there.
Yeah, there was a lot of chatter this week about this tush-push, brotherly shove. They didn't outlaw it in the offseason, but is this how they're going to try to stop it? They're not going to formally outlaw it, but they're going to call some of these penalties. It's crazy that Landon Dickerson gets called for offsides there when the nose tackle is literally lined up over the ball. I know as Eagles fans, sometimes we go crazy with these conspiracy theories, but I did not like that at all. But either way, the Eagles offense and defense needs to clean it up. 6 penalties in that first half. Washington only had 2 penalties. So if you're the better team, you cannot afford to be the undisciplined team.
Yeah, and can't do what you did last year, which was shoot yourselves in the foot, unfortunately. We'll be back with you guys coming up at the postgame show when Mike Missinelli sits in here with Derek Gunn and Seth Joyner. And, of course, Kayla will be along as well, same as Bill and myself as well. Until then, hopefully the Eagles will start to take flight in this second half. From the USS New Jersey, right here, Dockton, Camden, this has been the JAKIB Media Halftime Show. Let's get back to the Birds.
Football and Hooters, the perfect pair.
Staffing is not easy, but that's what we do every day, all day. The key to our success is storytelling, asking the right questions to find the right people. I'm Gary Kane, president of Kane Partners. We want to be your staffing partner.
Some say courage is something you're born with. Others say courage is something you find. In every generation throughout history, courage has been celebrated, sought after, needed. It holds the potential for a life of impact. But what if courage isn't just something you hope for or stumble upon? What if courage is something that can be shaped at a place that inspires you, where leaders invest in you, your community believes in you, and your life becomes something bigger than it could ever be alone?
EAGLES. Eagles.